Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be talking about how to get rid of that pesky Jello on the Caddx Turtle HD camera. But before I do that, I have an update on the 2.1mm lens version of the Caddx Ratal. So the footage that you are looking at now is from the new lens that they will be shipping with this version. When I reviewed an early version of the Ratal with the 2.1mm lens, you could slightly see the corners of the original lens. So they've replaced it with the same glass lens that now comes with the Caddx Turtle V2, and it works very well. As you can see, we no longer have any of the lens in the corners while retaining a nice field of view. Remember though that the 2.1mm lens version loses field of view in 16:9 mode, whereas the 1.6mm version loses field of view in the 4:3 mode. So if you are interested in the Ratal camera, then make sure that you choose the correct version for the aspect ratio of your gear, and I will link to my original review of that camera in the below. And this is what the new lens looks like if you didn't see the previous videos, and I've attached it to the Lisam RC Alice X140, and as I mentioned, it looks just like the same lens that the Caddx Turtle V2 has, which brings me neatly onto their ND filters. So the Ratal 2.1 came with an ND8 filter, although you can buy it without the filter. They have different options where you can just buy the camera on its own or with the filter, and in the end it wasn't needed because the Lisam RC model had no vibration issues and I wasn't getting any Jello through to the camera. So as I explained in my review of the Ratal camera, an ND filter is like putting a pair of sunglasses over the lens of a camera, which lets less light into the sensor, and it's a method of reducing Jello in CMOS cameras. At least that's its best use for us. It does have other uses in the cinema world. And for example, here I have got the Tiny Leader HD, which is a Cinewhoop, and it's one of the better flying ones, but it uses this 3D printed TPU part to mount the camera. If you fly it outside, even on a dull day, you still get Jello, like you are seeing here. Now, I did have to cut away some of the TPU mount for the ND filter to fit, but I'd done that anyways so that I could get more camera angle. Now you might be asking, why does letting less light into the camera reduce Jello? Well, it all depends on the technology of the sensor used in the camera. And up until recently in FPV, we've been using cameras that have a CCD sensor, which stands for Charge Coupled Device. And I'll warn you now, there are a lot of acronyms in this explanation. So cameras like the Runcam Swift and the HS1177 use a CCD sensor. And to put it simply, those sensors have something called a global shutter, which means each frame the sensor captures is captured all at the same time. So these sensors are switching on and off really fast, also known as the shutter speed, and that controls the amount of light each frame is exposed to while also capturing the picture. Now that doesn't mean that these types of cameras aren't susceptible to vibration problems, because if your copter is shaking, then your camera will shake, but it won't shake in the form of Jello, it will just be shaky video footage. So why aren't we using CCD cameras in these HD cameras if they are better at dealing with rolling shutter and Jello? Well, thanks to mobile phones, CMOS sensors are cheaper to produce and have a lower power consumption, and because of this they have a load of tech thrown at them now, where they are starting to surpass the CCD camera in dynamic range as well as other areas. However, rolling shutter and increased video noise is still a trade-off compared to the CCD technology. So a CMOS sensor, which if you're interested is also an acronym for complementary metal oxide semiconductor, catchy, I know, right, uses something called a rolling shutter. So rather than capturing the image all in one go, it scans down the pixels of the sensor, albeit very fast, but it doesn't take a single snapshot like a CCD sensor does. So if by the time the scan is over and something has moved in the picture, or in our case the camera has vibrated, then the sensor captures a slightly skewed image which we see in the form of Jello. So essentially CCD and CMOS use two different methods to digitally open and close the shutter. So why does putting sunglasses on a CMOS camera, aka an ND filter, reduce Jello? Well, surprise surprise, ND is also an acronym and stands for neutral density, and the number after that acronym is the strength of the filter, or how much light it's going to block. But the most simple way to describe it is that they let less light into the camera's sensor. And why is this important with a CMOS camera? Well, it's all to do with how fast the rolling shutter is opening and closing. Now, on some of these cameras, you can set a manual shutter speed, but if you set them to auto, then the camera's software will alter the speed of the shutter depending on how much light it receives. So, if a lot of light is hitting the sensor, then it will speed up the shutter, which means the image becomes sharper. And with that sharper image, you can see these rolling shutter distortions more clearly. So an ND filter fools the sensor in a way by letting less light reach it, which in automatic mode will slow down the shutter speed, and that creates a motion blur. And it's this motion blur that makes the image slightly less sharper, and we don't see the Jello, but the image is still sharp enough that we get nice video out of it. Now, Caddx sent me their ND16 filter, which is a little bit too strong on a dull day. This is me following my friend Pete on his bike, and you can see that the Jello is completely gone compared to earlier. But the image is quite dull. So on a day like this, I'd probably use the ND8 filter, which unfortunately I didn't have on me at the time. However, I got lucky, and for a brief second the sun came out, and without the ND filter you can see that the Jello is very intense and the footage is unusable. But I landed really quickly because the sun comes out for about 30 seconds here, and switched to the ND16 filter, and as you can see, the Jello is completely gone and the integrity of the picture has not been compromised until the sun goes in, of course. So there you go, that is my quick video on ND filters. Now, as far as I'm aware, these lenses will only fit the Caddx Turtle V2 as well as the Rittel's 2.1 lens. It won't fit on the Rittel's 1.6mm lens. However, I'm sure you could use adhesive or modify the Caddx lens in some way to fit other cameras, but I've shown in this video that they clearly work, so I think it would be very advisable for other companies making cameras like this to come up with their own ND filters that fit their lenses. But until then, I will leave you with a link to the Caddx ones in the below, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.